Remember, don't try this at home.
We've got years of experience that keeps us safe.
On this episode of MythBusters,
Fire in the hole!
it's wham, bam, thank you, fans. It's another Myths Revisited special,
Don't tell me what might happen this time!
where you judge how the MythBusters have been conducting themselves. Were Adam and Jamie responsible for a trombone travesty?
That's just awesome.
Did the exploding hammers myth strike a low blow?
Whoa!
And we revisit 2 high-caliber myths, where you say the guys didn't aim up.
Oh, Jamie!
Now we're talking.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage.
Ow, 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 ow.
And Jamie Heineman.
It's almost too exciting.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience.
Cue dramatic music.
Joining them, Carrie Byron.
That's gonna be so cool!
Grant Imahara.
Listen to that baby purr!
And Tori Belleci.
Paramedics are nowhere to be found.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. Yes, it's that time again. The MythBusters are going to answer their critics the only way they know how, by going back to the drawing board. And first on the chopping block, a myth that has long been a trombone of contention with fans.
Yeah, you know, we shot Mad Trombonist during season 1. That's the longest distance we've ever had between a myth and its revisit. What the heck did we get wrong?
There wasn't a trombonist.
Once upon a time, 2 fresh-faced fledgling MythBusters blew up some brass. The myth? A trombonist wants to put a bit more bang into the 1812 overture. So he fills his mute with firecrackers. When they go off, the force of the blast turns the trombone slide into a musical missile, which strikes the conductor and knocks him into the audience. But no matter how much black powder Jamie packed into that trombone, the slide wouldn't fly. When the smoke had cleared and the police had calmed down, Adam was adamant.
We have taken this myth absolutely to pieces. This is another rarity for us. Every aspect of it is completely impossible.
That left fans feeling brassed off, and they've been demanding an encore performance ever since. Only this time, we want to see a pair of lips pressed against the trombone's mouthpiece.
So how would a trombonist have made a difference?
The idea is that the trombonist's lips would seal the trombone more effectively, hence making the explosive propel the slide off the end of the trombone like a rocket.
Okay, that's good enough. You know, if we're gonna do this though, I think we should make sure we can put it way to bed. Let's put a pair of lips behind the mouthpiece, but if that doesn't work, let's make a mouthpiece that we weld shut.
Sure.
Okay, so according to you guys, having someone's mouth pressed against the trombone will make it a sealed system. Expanding gases from the explosion will no longer be able to escape through the mouthpiece. They'll have nowhere to go but through that slide. Right, you asked for it. Adam and Jamie are going to take it again from the top.
Look at all those trumpets.
Did you play the trumpet?
No.
Aren't you a bugler in the Civil War?
Once again, the guys go trawling for trombones. Second hand, of course.
Perfect.
They also need some mouthpieces. And some mutes.
Unfortunately, this is the last note this trombone will ever play.
Trust Adam to turn a trombone into an instrument of torture.
Finger in a barrel. I knew we were gonna have to revisit this one. That's the one where a gun barrel can explode into a banana peel, just like in the cartoons.
This one's well worth a revisit, if only so we can catch up with our friends, the Mythtoons. They're a gun barrel of laughs. When our familiar foes come face to face, there's plenty of animated animosity. But instead of saying his prayers, our cheeky red-haired rodent forces his finger into the barrel, and the hunter's best-laid plans backfire big time. The MythBusters tried to get the same result in real life. They took modern rifles and plugged ballistics gel fingers into the barrels.
What?
The bullets won, hands down.
Look at the very tip
I'll
of the
be
gun.
darned.
And while they got 1 or 2 bulges in their barrels, nothing could trigger that famous cartoon banana peel.
I don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, but I think we made up revisiting this one.
Well, Adam, those chickens have now hatched, and they're coming home to roost. Since busting the myth, fans have been firing a volley of suggestions.
First, we should try this. It's an older gun with a Damascus barrel.
And what is that?
Well, up until the 20th century, they were making Damascus barrels, and that's where they would take alternate strips of steel and iron, twist it around a rod, and then weld it together. So it wasn't one piece of metal.
Well, it looks like I need to go dig out the hand molds we used last time.
And I'll work on a remote trigger, because if this does indeed work, it could very well explode.
While the guys get to work, let's revisit the science behind this cartoon caper. Pull the trigger of a gun, and there's a small explosion. The expanding gases propel the bullet through and out the barrel. Block the barrel, however, and the gas has nowhere to escape. The pressure builds, and gun ruptures. Some fans might rupture too when they see what the MythBusters are going to do with this collector's item.
Boy, you better marry my daughter.
This 10-gauge shotgun had both barrels fashioned Damascus style.
This one was made in 1877, so it's an antique. And we're gonna destroy it.
Grant mounts the shotgun on Jamie's special rifle rig and wires up a remote trigger.
I have a radio control system that transmits a wireless signal to the receiver. The receiver sends a control signal to the servo. It's going to turn the head of the servo, which pulls the string. The string goes around the trigger and is captured on the other side by a hose clamp, and then that fires the gun. 3, 2, 1. There you go.
Meanwhile, you gotta hand it to Carrie. She's got hand-making down pat.
So here we have a ballistics gel hand with a skeleton cast inside. It's been sitting up overnight, and the nervous part is over because it came out of the mold and looks all right.
Out in the MythBusters' purpose-built bunker, the rifle rig is screwed down, and Carrie fits the finger into the Damascus barrel. Still to come on Myths Revisited, the guys become Black's MythBusters as the hammer falls on a tall tool tail. And up next, the day the music died. Can a trombone turn rocket launcher? Tori, Carrie, and Grant are revisiting the finger in the barrel myth. Fans say this antique shotgun with its old-fashioned welded Damascus barrel will give them a result worthy of Toontown.
In 3, 2, 1!
Oh, wow!
Hey, we got something.
The hand's gone.
Dang, I think the gun's ruined. That's pretty good. It's better than we got last time.
First time round, all they got was a little barrel bone. This time, the Damascus barrel's torn open and peeled back like cardboard. That's a better result, but it's still not the full banana. And unlike the cartoons, the guy who pulled the trigger still has a face.
Our shooter doesn't look harmed at all.
But the guy with the finger, little worse for wear, wouldn't you say?
Not so good.
It's obvious a flesh and bone finger isn't strong enough to cause a barrel to explode. So, Tori wants to take a slight detour on the road to Damascus barrel busting.
I found this piece of steel. It fits perfectly in the barrel, like so. I'm just gonna cut off a little piece, and I'm gonna sculpt it to look like a finger, just because I can.
Being the model maker that he is, Tori is pretty handy at making a finger.
And there's my steel finger.
Tori, that needs to go into another orifice. Thank you.
I'm gonna weld in the steel finger that I made into the good barrel. This way, we're sure that it's not gonna pop out when we take a shot.
The barrel is now well and truly blocked.
Fire in the hole! 3, 2, 1!
The shotgun suddenly becomes a sawn-off.
That's not a banana peel. That's like loss of tip.
That just total shattered the end off.
But where's the finger?
The end is gone.
We wrecked the gun.
The steel finger,
Gone.
gone.
All right, we'll find the finger later.
Our hirsute hunter has suffered no ill effects, but the Damascus is done for. Once again, the finger myth gets the thumbs down. It's a musical mishap that could have come straight from the golden age of slapstick. Can a mute full of fireworks turn a trombone slide into a musical missile? For this raucous recital, Adam and Jamie are off to the Alameda County Bomb Range. Look at this. Isn't this so MythBusters? Jamie's truck flanked by the bomb squad and the paramedics. Just like last time, Buster the conductor will have to face the music. He'll be propped up on a simple metal frame. Should he be buffeted by flying brass, he'll topple backwards. Last time they tried this, the trombone was on its own. This time, crucially, they've got a bust of Grant puckering up behind the mouthpiece. To make sure that the slide can launch smoothly, Jamie takes out his handy tube of lube and goes to work. And we suddenly find out yet another startling fact about his past.
The only time I had any kind of band instrument experience was I got a hold of an old tuba, so I mounted it in the bathroom when I was a teenager, and you could sit on the toilet and everybody in the house knew what was going on.
That's unique.
Hold it. At this point, there are so many one-liners, my brain's about to explode. Stuff about movements, bum notes, crotchets, and wind. Oh, no! Okay, better now. While we try to wipe from our minds the image of the Heinemann Cistern Symphony, let's take stock.
Here is a disgruntled or very ambitious trombone player. He's decided during the 1812 overture to fill his mute with explosives for the finale. He fills them with explosives, they blow up, they send his slide shooting all the way towards the conductor, boom, who falls backwards and into the audience. That's the myth.
With the bomb squad supervising, the mute is packed with black powder and loaded into the trombone bell. Places, please, everybody. We're ready to strike up the band.
Good to go. This is Mad Trombonist. Lips behind the mouthpiece. Revisit in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I can see the slide moved a little bit.
Just a little.
I'm having the most shocking sense of deja vu.
The high speed shows the mute flying from the trombone like shiny shrapnel and bouncing off Buster's cranium. But he remains unmoved. And as for the trombone slide, well, it's still firmly attached to the instrument.
The trombonist's lips don't seem worse for wear, but I don't think they made much of a difference.
In the name of due diligence, and because they love blowing stuff up, the guys reset for a reprise. This time, Jamie doubles the amount of black powder.
That's perfect.
This mute is going to be anything but.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The music's on fire.
Now that's a finale.
In the aftermath of the second bomb trombone, it seems the MythBusters might have settled an old score with the fans.
Again, just like the last one, we can see the shockwave in the bell, and the slide didn't come off.
That's about the only thing that didn't suffer with this one, is the slide,
It didn't even knock the baton from his hand.
which is barely hanging there.
This musical myth is looking more busted than Pete Townshend's guitar. Or is it?
I think there's one last thing we could do to put this to bed once and for all, and that would be to take our second backup trombone and solder or weld the mouthpiece so that no air can escape from it.
Okay.
Still ahead, Adam and Jamie take a second shot at the sniper scope myth. And up next, does bore cider plus barrel equal banana peel? Don't believe the cartoons, friends. Shoving your finger in the barrel of a gun won't make the gun explode. Your hand, however, will.
The guy with the finger. A little worse for wear, wouldn't you say?
Not so good.
But that's not all, folks. Having busted the myth a second time, the MythBusters now want to find out what will make a barrel bend back like a banana peel.
That's like loss of tip.
And the fans have a surefire suggestion.
So next test is somebody was shooting a 30-06 with a bore sighter still in the barrel, and that thing ripped to shreds.
I'm extremely familiar with the pictures of that. I have had so many emails sent to my inbox going, look, banana peel.
We got the same exact gun that happened with, so we're gonna set that up and try it the same way.
I really want to find out if that's real.
Do these photos show a real deal peel? Are they smoking gun evidence? The MythBusters have their sights set on finding out.
With the bore sighter, you put it in, you turn on the laser, and where the laser goes, that's where the bullet should go. Then you get your scope, and you put your crosshairs on that laser point.
Of course, you're supposed to take the bore sighter out of the barrel before pulling the trigger, something our unfortunate marksman apparently forgot to do. Okay, then let's see.
Okay, we are loaded.
They've got a brand new 30-06 hunting rifle with a bore sighter stuck in the barrel.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, what the heck?
I think the bore sighter bounced off the bullet catcher and hit the light.
Oh, wait a minute. We got a split.
Did we?
Yeah, it split the barrel.
Wow.
That's about a 3-inch split. The barrel's separated from the stock. The bore sighter's in bits, but still no banana peel.
Well, I'm feeling like it is possible. I mean, we have never gotten any kind of damage like this before where it's actually splitting down the length of the barrel.
Also, We don't know what the age of the gun was, what kind of abuse it might have gone through. This is a brand new gun.
That's a totally valid point. It's like he could have had that gun for years and it was already stretched. That's a great point.
All right, so I guess we call this one plausible.
Plausible.
I agree.
From one firearm myth to another that made fans fume.
Sniper scope revisit?
Yeah, I am very pleased that we found some things to retest in this one, because personally, I don't really enjoy making snipers angry.
Is that why you're wearing this thing?
Yes, it is. So, what exactly did we get wrong on the first try?
Well, according to some viewers, we used the wrong rifle and/or the wrong scope.
Oh, is that all?
This myth goes back to Vietnam. The story goes that U.S. Marine sniper Carlos Hathcock took out his VC counterpart with a single shot straight down the scope. But when Adam and Jamie scored direct hits on scope after scope, the bullets never made it all the way through, leading Adam to conclude,
We don't have the scope that Gunny Hathcock shot at, so we can't know for sure. I say we have to call this myth busted.
fans went, well, ballistic.
So what was wrong with the scope?
Well, fans say that we were not using a period scope, which apparently has a lot fewer glass elements than a modern scope, and thus, by extension, should be easier to get through with a bullet.
Okay.
Okay, let's see how the MythBusters aim up this time.
Did that sit there like that?
Fresh from helping out with finger in a barrel, Sergeant Alan Normandy will once again be calling the shots.
According to photographic evidence, this is the exact same model of rifle that Gunnery Sergeant Hathcock would have been firing against. Exact same rifle, exact same mount, exact same scope. This is not a replica rifle. This is an actual period gun.
Alan's also scoped out a bunch of period-correct scopes. Put next to their modern counterparts, you can see that size does matter.
You can see that there's a size difference. There's not much of a difference in functionality. There's between 6 and 8 elements in each of these scopes. The light is moving similarly through them, but the lenses in this one are much bigger, which means they're much fatter. There's a lot more glass for the bullet to get through. There's a lot less glass for the bullet to get through in this scope.
Grant's ballistic bust is on another tour of duty, this time as the sniper. His rifle and scope setup is authentic, exactly what Sergeant Hathcock's enemy target would have been using.
For this test, we're going to use this 30-06 rifle with an original 1968 vintage M72 173 grain round. This is the actual type of round that Gunny Hathcock would have used in his rifle.
Jamie prepares to replicate Sergeant Hathcock's killer shot.
Deep breath. Let it surprise you. Dude. Oh, man.
How'd I do?
Well, we obliterated the scope mount for one. That's what I can see from here. I think we wasted a little energy on some of the metal.
Jamie was just off target. The bullet didn't make it through the scope. Instead, it smashed the casing. Our sniper's still at clear and present danger. It looks like the old scope isn't as easy to penetrate as first thought.
It may seem like the period scope has less glass to penetrate, and it probably does, but here's the catch. The period scope has a metal ring that's actually quite thick that the bullet has to push all that glass through to get to the other side. It's a little more difficult than it might seem.
Jamie sets for a second shot.
Making ready for live fire.
He adjusts his aim just a fraction. And another 30-06 round thunders into the sniper's scope.
That looked like a good shot. Well, the glass is all obliterated. That's one good sign.
Adam admits admiration.
Well, that was a good shot, Jamie. That made it all the way through. The question is that our bullet?
Sure looks like it to me.
Really? Oh, yeah, there's the copper.
It melted some of the glass with some of the heat exchange.
Wow.
So that's definitely copper.
The bullet blasted straight through the scope, but somehow stopped before Sniper Grant's beady eye.
The bullet made it all the way through and obliterated the glass, but it still was just sitting right there.
Yep, our little guy here is not happy at all, but he's not dead.
The period scope plus the period rifle and the period ammo all made significant differences, but I still want to call this one busted.
What do you think, Al?
I'm not ready to call it over just yet. I got one little trick up my sleeve. USGI 30-06 armor-piercing ammunition.
Let's do it.
Stay with us as the Mad Trombonist myth reaches its brass-crushing crescendo. And next, the guys tool up to hammer a blacksmith myth.
Remember, don't try this at home.
We've got years of experience that keeps us safe.
Now, the next myth ripe for revisiting is one I don't quite remember. Can a hammerhead really explode? Oh, that type of hammerhead. Got it. Sorry.
You know what? It's always the little ones. You think you've tested them thoroughly, but the fans, they still complain about it. It's exploding hammer.
Oh, you know, I really thought we nailed that one.
I think we did too, but the people disagree.
Why?
Why don't we let the narrator explain?
Okay then. Well, see, it all started when Jamie innocently used one hammer to bang another. Don't do that, fans exclaimed. A hammer can explode if struck by another hammer. Well, of course, that sparked a frenzy of flailing tools, as the MythBusters tried to blow a hammer sky high without success.
Looks like the handle's bent, but no shattering.
But according to fans, they got one or two things wrong. For a start, the modern hammers they tested were too soft. And when they fired up the homemade forge to try and harden a hammer, they didn't get the temperature right. Nag, nag, nag. And to top it all off, the anvil they used wasn't a real anvil.
What?
It was what blacksmiths call an asso, or anvil-shaped object.
So it looks like we need to get some pre-World War II hammers, some modern-day hammers that we can get all the way to transition temperature and then quenched, and finally, I think we need to get ourselves a real anvil.
Sounds like another trip to the blacksmith.
Got it.
Now, last time around, Tori put together a top hammer-swinging rig,
Like Coppolamo. It'll be like blood now.
which he promptly destroyed after the myth had been busted.
We need the hammer rig. Unfortunately, I've chopped it up and turned it into a chop saw table. You'd think we would learn.
While Tori puts the rig back together, Carrie and Grant are off to forge a relationship with a blacksmith.
You even look like a blacksmith. Amazing.
Well, thank you.